my name's Morgan and this is Emily, and welcome to Dorm Room Devos. We are both sophomores at Freed-Hardeman University and we are both roommates.
I'm a psychology major.
And I am a business major with a minor in photography.
Before we start talking about the podcast itself, we want to talk a bit about the perspective that we're coming from. We are both members of the Church of Christ. We were born into the Church of Christ, and then I was baptized into the Lord's Church when I was 10 years old.
And I was when I was 13.
So, a little bit about the Church of Christ. We are a church who tries to follow the Bible as close as we can. We are not a denomination. We are autonomous, which means we don't follow a convention. We don't have a group of people who tells all of the churches of Christ in the U.S. how to believe, what to teach. We just try to do the best we can with Scripture on our own. We believe in the plan of salvation that Jesus has set for us in Scripture. This includes baptism. We believe that one is saved when they are baptized. And there's many scriptures that we can go to talk about this, but the one we'll read for right now is 1 Peter 3:21.
Baptism, which corresponds to this, now saves you, not as a removal of dirt from the body, but as an appeal to God for a good conscience through the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
This is a good verse. Just for a quick explanation, because it's very clear, baptism now saves you. While I think this will probably become an episode of its own later on, this is just a quick reasoning for right now. One of the other things that we feel strongly about and we try to do is replicate the first century church as closely as we can and follow the example they laid out for us in Scripture, which means we do not use instruments. We strictly follow what they did, which means we sing with just our mouths. And one of the verses that we look to for that is Colossians 3:16.
Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God.
So now that we have the groundwork laid down for who are we, what perspective are we coming from, let's talk a little bit about the podcast. So why are we doing this?
Okay, so our main goal for this podcast is to help women to feel confident by hearing the scriptures that Jesus has given us to read. And we also have been told many, many times by our friends that we need to start a podcast because we'll be in our room and we'll have our conversations on something that we just kind of just thought of. And then this is kind of just us trying.
Yeah, so a little bit of a disclaimer. We are brand new to this. We do not have any experience in this kind of thing, any videography, anything like that, between the two of us. We are working on a college kid budget, so we don't have any fancy equipment or anything like that. We're just going to kind of have a chill time, do some Bible study, have some fun together. And, so what's an episode of Dorm Room Devos going to look like?
So we hope to do one episode a week, hopefully on Mondays. And we have a couple topics picked out, but for our first podcast, we're planning on doing Who is God? And then a little further down the road, we're going to do Science and God.
Another exciting thing that we're hoping to do is we're hoping to have some guests on. We mentioned that our friends kept talking about how we should do a podcast, and honestly, we have a lot of good conversations with them too. So we are going to have some of them on to engage in some Bible study and have some conversation with us. And then another guest speaker that we're very excited about is the Dean of Students here at Freed-Hardeman. She has been an inspiration and just helped us a lot in our spiritual growth. So we're excited that we could have her on, and hopefully you can hear from her too. And one thing that we do want to make clear before we finish here is this is a podcast for women. We believe that men have the authority when it comes to Scripture, and this means we are to be taught by men and we are not to teach men in this kind of circumstance. So while we cannot control who listens to this podcast, we just want to be clear that we are intending this to only be listened to by women and for women. So with just that kind of background work, this is Dorm Room Devos, and we hope to see you on our first episode.
Bye!